Hey, welcome to nullFunctionDev. Today I'm going to be teaching you guys how to make your first Flask web application. So right here I have this README file which will be on my GitHub if you need to go back and reference it. It's just going to go over some tips for success, some different things that we went over, and make sure that you have it correct. So I am using a Linux laptop on Pop! OS. That's what I'll be using primarily throughout the series. So I'm going to be using the Linux commands as you see here. If you're on a Windows laptop, that's no problem. I have the same command but on the different OS right by it. And if there's not a distinction between them, that means it works on either system. So hopefully this gives you some tips so you don't get too lost. Again, if you need to reference it, this should be up when this video is posted. So now that we kind of have a background, I have course 1 right here. So that's what we're in. So we're going to go cd course 1. And now let's make our Python file, and we're going to name it app.py. On Linux you can use touch. If you're on Windows there's another command, or you can just come up here and click this little add file button and add it in there. So we have app.py, and we're just going to go right here and just call it Flask app for now. We're just going to leave a comment because we're just going to build the backend, and then we'll come back in and make our app start working. So come back to course 1. We're going to add a new folder called templates, and then inside of that we're going to go home.html. This is where our HTML files are going to live when we're using Flask apps. So right now, again, we're not going to touch it. We're just going to leave it there. But these are the only 3 items for a basic Flask app that you really need, and even this one's kind of optional, which I'll show you here in a sec. But these 3. Now let's build a virtual environment. So Flask has made it clear that they want you to use a virtual environment in order to separate any other projects, systems, whatever it may be. They recommend using a virtual environment. It's really easy to set up. We're going to be here in our terminal. We're going to go open this a little bit more so we can see. I'm going to say Python 3. For some people, you might need to enter it as Py. Some people it's Python. For mine, it's Python 3. -m. Vim for virtual environment, and we're going to call it my environment, my env. You see that it pops up inside of course 1, which is great. Next thing we're going to do is actually start the environment. So for Linux, it's going to be source my environment bin activate, and this should pop up both on Windows and on Linux systems. So if you see this here, that means you're inside of the virtual environment, which is where we want to be. Now we can actually install Flask, and we're going to use pip to do that. So pip should work on Linux and Windows. It is not a OS dependent tool. So we're going to say pip install Flask. It's going to go through all of its stuff. It's going to download, and boom, it's done. So we've got Flask, we've got Jinja, we've got all the different things we may need. So now we can clear this terminal, and now let's go back to app.py. Now we have kind of the tools we need. We're going to see that we need to change the interpreter here in a second, but let's start coding our app. So in order to do that, we're going to import Flask. So we're going to say from Flask in lowercase letters, import uppercase F Flask, and we see it couldn't be resolved. It's saying it's not real. The computer's not recognizing it. It's because of our interpreter in VS Code. So we're going to go Control-Shift-P. We're going to click Python, select interpreter. If it doesn't show up here, just start typing it in. Python, select, click enter. And we don't see my environment anywhere. That's fine. We're going to go enter interpreter path, find, and we see it right here, this folder. Click into it. For Windows, we're going to go bin. We're going to go to Python. And you see that yellow line went away, which is good. That means that the computer's starting to think about Flask. It went green, which means that this module is now imported and we can use whatever we need to inside of Flask. So let's start building our app. We have Flask, we have the tools, we have the environment and the files. We're going to take a deep breath and we're going to make our app. First thing we need to do is initialize it. So init app. We're going to name the app, and it's going to be an object from Flask. So this right here creates a Flask web object called app. We're now going to make the home page, or the landing page, or the default. Either way, they're all synonymous for this instance. So we're going to say at app.route. parenthesis, and then we're going to say / surrounded by a tick. This right here, if you think about it like a URL, if you go to google.com, there's going to be a /. That's their landing page, right? That's where their search query is going to be. So we look at this, we go over here and go google.com. See how I did that /? It's because this is their landing page. So that's going to be the same for our app. We're going to have a landing page. We're going to make a function called home. And this is what's going to happen when a user visits our page. So we're going to say return, this is my first app. So for right now, we're not using our HTML file, that's fine. We just want this to show up on the screen. So in order to do that, this is going to run our app in debug mode. And all we have to do is go if name equals main. We're going to say app.run. And again, we're doing it in debug mode so that we can see real-time updates, and it'll refresh the page as we make changes in here, which is great. Not good for production. That is not how you want to run it. But for local testing and everything like that, building your app in a development environment, which we're in, right? We have a virtual environment. This is great. So this is the app. This is like the most basic as we can get it. We are just returning a string onto the screen at our local host /. So in order to get this app running, we're going to go Python 3, again, Python 3. We're going to say app.py. Boom. And our terminal is going to show us that we have something running on localhost, which is this IP schema, at port 5000. So let's see what's going on. Open that up, boom, this is my first app. So this is a very basic HTML page. The only thing on there is that string. Flask does all the work for us to just return that string, which is great. But now we want to return an actual HTML page. So I'm going to go back to VS Code. I'm going to come back to the top here, and we're going to import render template. If you remember, we made that templates folder, and we put home.html inside of it. And notice how this is render template. So we're going to render a file from inside of here. Go back to your home page. Instead of returning a string, we're going to go return render template, and then the name of our HTML file that we want. We don't need to prepend it with templates // we don't need to do any of that. Flask is looking and knows that there should be a folder named templates. If you named it template, if you named it something else, it's going to return an error. But we have home.html, so it should work. Now, this isn't going to work because home.html doesn't have anything in it, but we're going to change that here now. So we're going to go ! enter. That's going to give us some boilerplate code. We're going to go basic home page. And all we're going to put in here is an H1 header. We're going to say, this is my first web app in Flask. Well, let's just make it a little bit better. That's not really a title. Basic Flask app. Just like that. Now, let's go back, make sure our code is good. Everything looks fine. We save it, see if we get any, nope, no errors. So let's go back to here. This is what we originally had, and this is our new page. So this is rendering our HTML file. So again, basic web app, home.html. We did it with a string first. Now we used render template. The last thing we're going to do is we're going to pass a value from our backend Flask page into the HTML. So I'm going to say name equals nullFunctionDev. We're going to say age equals 99, and we're going to say student equals false. Okay. Now, if I come in here, we're going to say person equals name. So person is what's going to get sent to home.html, but it is the same as name. So it's also a string called nullFunctionDev. We're going to do the same for age. So age equals age. Then we're going to say student equals student. So just like that, these are all going to be passed to home.html, but we don't have any use for it right now. It's not anywhere in here, right? Well, we can change that. Let's do some paragraph tags and say my name is, a couple brackets like that, and put person, which has been passed to the file. And let's see what that does just by itself. There it is. We have passed something from our backend into an HTML file, and that's using Jinja. So that's a template renderer, something like that on Flask. So that allows you to take things from Flask and push it to these pages. Super useful for future videos. Let's do that a couple more times with our different values. So let's go one more time. Let's call this I am age years old. And then let's say, am I a student? Student. So let's switch tabs, refresh it, and boom, we have all of our stuff here. So again, just walking through what we did, we made these couple elements, we set up a virtualized environment, and we got our two files running with our Flask app and our HTML page to serve up a basic web app. If you need any more information, this is going to be uploaded to my GitHub. It should be in the link below. It's nullFunctionDev, just like the channel name. So if you look for course 1 and you have any questions, look to that GitHub repo first. Thanks.